If you've ever gone to turn the key in your tractor and you just get a little click or nothing happens at all, then you need to watch this video because you probably need a new neutral safety switch. Howdy folks. Today I'm with my trusty 4610 and we are replacing the neutral safety switch. Real quick, well before we do that, this is the part. It's a genuine New Holland part. It's made in Mexico. My original neutral safety switch went bad. I replaced it with an aftermarket one. It did not last very long, so I am switching to genuine equipment, OEM, in hopes that it does better. They're actually not that expensive. I want to say this was somewhere between, I think it was about $17, so very inexpensive. So first of all, what does the neutral safety switch actually do and where is it at? Let's take a look at that. The neutral safety switch is actually located underneath this housing on the transmission tunnel. And these are the wires that come out for it. They actually hook right here. So what the neutral safety switch does is this basically a circuit interrupter. It will not allow the circuit to complete from the battery to the key and back to the starter if your shifters are not in neutral here. And what that prevents is a startup. What it prevents is a situation where your tractor's in gear and you go to start it. If that were to happen, the tractor would lunge forward. So the neutral safety switch ensures that the tractor will only start if it is in neutral, which is a safety feature. Sometimes this switch goes bad and it no longer conducts the current through it, in which case you're going to get a clicking or nothing at all when you go to turn your key. Sometimes you can get around that by shifting this a few times and it might jar it loose or whatever's wrong, and then go try to start it again and it might start. But I'm done messing with it. What I've done right now, I do not recommend, but you do this at your own risk. I have jumped the neutral safety switch, and so this takes the electrical path and it passes it right on through instead of coming through here. This is extremely dangerous because it means were I to just fire up the tractor and not check to make sure it was in neutral first, it would go lunging ahead. Well, with no further ado, let's get going here. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I have this cleaned off very well because I'm going to take this entire thing off since the switch resides in there and I don't want any junk getting inside there. These bolts here are not on very tight and they just require a 9/16 inch socket to come out. With all the bolts removed, this will now lift off and expose the guts. I'm just lifting it off very carefully so as to not get anything in there. You can see what we've got going on inside, and that right there is your neutral safety switch. You can see there are two wires, two plugs that go onto it right there. Ooh, I need to get my hands clean before I put them in there. But they're right there. I'm just going to reach in and pull those off. But I'm going to do that with clean hands first. So I'm going to shut off. So here I am with the top cover removed. My neutral safety switch is right there. And here is the underside of this. I forgot to say you can pull that dipstick out right there because it's sticking out underneath here. And then there's the two wires to my neutral safety switch right there. I do not think it matters what order they go. Next, we're just going to take a 1 1/8 inch socket and I'm just going to unscrew that out of there. Once it's loosened up, should just be able to take it out by hand. There's the old one. Really nothing you can tell is wrong just by a visual inspection. I'd actually have to put an ohm meter on there and see if I'm losing any continuity or something like that. So I'm going to take my new one. Now the old one had a washer on it, so I'm just going to transfer that onto my new one here. I don't know if that washer was actually originally on there or not. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Now I'm just gonna thread that back on there. And I don't care where these line up, because when you put the shifter back in, it will automatically line them up. Just tighten that down, get it nice and tight. Okay, so now that's back on. Now all I have to do is take my shifter, set it back on there, reconnect my two wires, and there is two shifter balls. Let me go grab the shifter real quick. There are two shifter balls. One is right there and one is right there. And we just need to make sure that the one shifter ball goes into there. There's an alignment peg that will go into there, and then your other shifter ball is going to go into this groove right here. Easy peasy. So the new lines are reconnected right there, and that alignment peg on the front goes right in that hole that's beneath it, and my shifter lever on the back goes right into there. And now this ball closest to me, which is right, boy, I can't, this is really bad. This guy is going to fall straight down. The one thing I did not do is replace the gasket. My plan originally was to just cut a new one out with gasket paper, but this gasket was kind of all ripped up, so I'll probably just, it doesn't really leak much around there anyway, but I'll probably just buy a new gasket and take this off and put a new one on in the future. Anyway, let's get this bolted down. Okay, so I got all these bolted back on, and they don't need to be super, super tight, just as an old mechanic mentor used to tell me, tight is good. So I'd kind of wrench on them until you feel it snug up, and I'd give a little bit more of a turn, but you don't want to get it down super tight and warp this. And then I went and checked my shifters, and it shifts through all the gears fine. No problem there. Same with that one. Finally, I just went and reconnected the wires right here. And I am going to keep my little jumper. I'm just going to throw that in the toolbox just in case the new one fails me for whatever reason. I've always got my emergency backup. And now, with it in neutral, let's actually see if it starts. Well, this is just great because I replaced that stupid freaking switch, and now when I turn the key, there's nothing when it's all hooked up. So that probably tells me my switches may not have been going bad at all. Now what I'm actually suspecting is that the wire that hooks onto the two posts of the switch, it actually kept popping off there when I was trying to put the cover back on. And I am wondering if that wire, those terminals are just on there too loosely. It could have popped off in there again, or it's just not sitting in there well enough and it's not making a good connection. And so I'm now wondering, maybe I need to replace those two wires or crimp on a better connector, one that's going to stick onto that post of that safety switch more robustly than it is. Regardless of that, I still went through the entire process of switching out the safety switch. As you can see, it's very simple. It doesn't take very long at all. It took me a little bit longer tonight because I was trying to narrate what I was doing and show y'all. But hopefully, if this was something that you were contemplating taking on your own, you've now seen what's involved. You're going to see that it's really easy, and you got a little more confidence to be able to do it yourself. As I always say, I hope this was useful. If you like more content like this, subscribe, see what else I got going on. Hit the little notifications button if you want to know when I post more material. And if you liked it, go ahead and give it a like. Feel free to post a comment on what you like or didn't like. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.